In this video, we're going to create a CRUD operation with PHP and MySQL, and we'll also include images. So the first thing we have to do is set up our database. Open your XAMPP control panel, and let's go to the MySQL admin. And then let's create a new database. We're going to call this database YouTube. And then we're going to create a table, and let's call it items. And we want 4 columns. And let's press create. The first column we want ID. The second one we want image. And the third one we want the names and number. So we're going to leave this as int because it's a number. We want various characters for image, various characters for name and number. And the ID, we're going to click auto increment, and it will automatically make the ID column the primary column. So let's click save. We need to add some lengths. So just going to give that length of 11, 300. And then let's click save. And now a table was created. So the first thing we have to do, let's open a folder that's in our htdocs folder in our system. So this PC, XAMPP, htdocs, and let's create a folder called CRUD. And inside this folder, we're going to create another folder called uploads. That's where our images will go. So let's go to Sublime Text, and the first file we're going to create is our config file. And we want this inside our htdocs. config.php. And we're going to create our database connection. So PHP I'm going to say db equals MySQL connect, and we're on a local host. The username is root. If you're also on a local host, this will be localhost and root. And the third parameter is the password. We don't have none. And the name of our database is YouTube. Let's press Ctrl S to save this. And the next file we're going to create is our upload file. So let's save it as upload.php. And the first line, we're going to include our config file. Now let's create our HTML structure, and let's give it the title CRUD upload. So now let's create our form, and let's give it a div and class because I'm going to put a little bit of CSS. And give it a class of container. So let's create our form. On the action, I'm going to leave this blank because I'm going to write the PHP script in this same upload.php file. Again, the method we're going to use is post. And when we're uploading images, we have to set the end type as multi-part / form data. Let's create a label tag, image, and the input type will be a file. And let's set the name to image. And let's give it a class of form control. And also let's make it required. And let's create a label for our name. The input, the type is text. We set the name to name. Let's give it a class of form control. Just gonna copy this, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And we're gonna give it the label as number, the type is text, and give it a name of num. Let's add a break. And create our button. And the button name will be form submit. And we're gonna claim it upload. Let's save this to see what it looks like. Let me add a little bit of CSS so it looks a little better. Let's press Control S, and now let's look at our uploads file. And you see we made it a little better. So now let's create the PHP script for our uploads file. So if it's set form submit, let's put our inputs in some variables. Host name, which is this here. Num, and let's put the name of our folder in a variable. And let's get the image. And that takes two parameters, the image and the name. And then let's get the temporary location. And the temporary name. And then let's set the target. And this line just means that we're getting the temporary location of the uploaded image and storing it in the variable file. So later we could move it to a permanent location, which is our uploads folder. So target file, I'm gonna set folder dot base name. And then it take the parameters of our image file. Next, let's extract the image file type because we want the extensions for validation. And the path is the target file. And want the path info extension. So now let's create some validation. Allow JPG, JPEG, and PNG files or file format. So we're gonna create an if statement. So if our image file type is not equal JPG and image file type does not equals PNG and our image file type does not equals JPEG. We're gonna create a variable called error and set that equals to sorry, only JPEG, JPG, and PNG files allowed. We can also set the image upload size. So we're gonna say if and the size is greater than 1048576, which is about 1 megabyte. Let me just copy this here. Control C, Control V, and we're gonna say image too large. Upload less than 1 megabyte. And so we're gonna create an if statement for the error. So if we're gonna say if is set error. So if not is set error, meaning that if there's no error, let's move image in the folder. So we're gonna use the move uploaded file function and take two parameters, which is our file variable, and we want it into the target file. So we're moving it from the temporary location, which is file, which the temporary location is here, and we're storing it into the permanent location, which is here. And now let's store our SQL query so it stores into our database. So MySQLi underscore query. We take our database connection, and then we write our query, which is insert into the name of our table, which is items. And then we're gonna insert the into the columns image, name, and num. And then the values that we want to put in these columns is our image file, which is the file name, the name, and the variable number. Let's close this double quotes, and I have to remove this quote here. So now if everything is stored in our table, so if result, we're gonna create the header to direct us to our index page. And with header, it takes the keyword location, index.php, and then we're gonna give it a URL parameter of image success. Let's set that equal to 1. Then we're gonna create an else statement, else echo something went wrong. Next, we want to display our error if there's any. So if set error, I'm gonna create a for each loop. So for each error as error, let's move this. We want to echo, let's call our center tag. Let's concatenate our error variable. Close our center tag, and let's also add a break. So now let's press Ctrl S and let's see if this form works. So let's refresh this, and we see our error on line 38. Oh, we didn't close. We need to add the semicolon here. Let's press Ctrl S and refresh. Another line of error on line 46. Let me go back here. There's an unexpected comma. Oh, here it is. Let's remove it. Press Ctrl S to save. Let's refresh this. And now let's test out our form. Let's add an image, name, John, the number. Let's add a random number. Let's press upload. And we didn't create the index.php yet, because that's why we're getting this error. But let's look in our database. And you see our inputs was placed into our table. Let's look at our folder, uploads, and you see the image is uploaded. So now let's create the index file. Save it as index.php. And we're gonna display this table. First, we have to include our database connection. Config.php. Let's create our HTML structure. Let's name this CRUD display. And let's display our table into our index file. So div, set the class to container display. And I want to create a link to the upload file, upload.php. Let's make it a button. We're gonna call it new entry. Let's add some break tags. So now let's display our table. So if set image success, let's echo image uploaded successfully. And let's create another if statement. So if get action, inside of here we're going to create a variable called action equals $ get action. And we're going to create another if statement, and if action equals saved, we want to echo saved. And we'll create this in our edit.php file. And let's create an else if action equals deleted. We'll create this deleted in our delete file. We want to echo image deleted successfully. So now let's create our table. Let's give this some style, cell padding equals 1. Let's give it a border of 1. And let's open our table row, our table head. Let's copy this a couple times. 4. And the first one is our image. Second one is our name. And these are the columns: number, and our action. Then let's open up some PHP tags. Let's create a variable called result equals MySQL query, and it's going to take our database connection and our query. So our query will be select all from items. Then we want to order it by ID, and let's put it in descending order. And then let's create a while loop. So while assign row equals MySQL underscore fetch array, we're gonna put our result variable. We're gonna echo table row, table data, which is our image, source equals uploads, our row, and our image column. Now let's set the height to 100 and the width to 100. Let me add a quotes at the end here. Let's close our tag, our table data tag. And next we need the table data, our name column. Let's close that. Let me just copy this for the number column. And then we need the column for our edit and delete buttons. ID equals let's create a button, call it edit, and let's close our button tag and also our anchor tag. Let's add some breaks. And now I want to create a delete button that shows a pop-up asking if we're sure we want to delete. I had a little trouble with this, so I copied something from. Let me just copy this, Control C, and paste it here. Next, let's close the table data for this tag. And let's also close our table row. Let's remove this center, and then let's close our PHP. Let's press Control S, and let's go to our index. CRUD index.php. And we have an error on line 63. Add our semicolon here. Let's press Control S. Let's refresh this. Let's check on line 18. Oh, we had to write get image success. So get image success. Let's press Control S. Refresh this. And you see we displayed our data along with our image. Let me clean this stuff up. Let's remove this comma here. Control S. Refresh. Now let me look for this. Oh, our mistake here. We put 2 closing PHP tags. Let's press Control S to see if that's the problem. Let me go back. And we need to remove this one. Let's just Control S. See if that did it. And we cleaned it up. So now let me add a new entry. And choose a file. Add an image. Name. Sasha number. Let's put a random number. Upload. And you see image uploaded successfully. And we added our new entry. So the next thing we need to do, let's create our delete file. Let's save delete.php. Let's save. Let me just copy this line of code here. Control V to paste. And let's set our ID variable. Oh, let me remove, I'm not supposed to close it yet. So ID equal get ID that corresponds with our row that we want to delete. Set a variable called result MySQL query, our database connection from the config file, and then our query. So we're gonna select all from our items table, where our ID equals the one we clicked, and let's set the limit to 1. Next, let's add some if statement. If our row equals MySQL fetch array, and our result, let's set a variable called delete image, and we're gonna delete the image column. Next, let's set folder variable to our uploads folder / and then we're gonna use the unlink function, which deletes a file or image from the server, and the folder variable is the location of the file, and the delete image is the name of the image we need to delete. Now let's create another query, MySQL query, our database, and our queries delete from our items table, where the ID column equals the ID variable that we set. And then one last if statement. So if our result, meaning if this query works, we want to redirect the user to our index file. Location is index.php, and we give it an action of deleted. Now let's close our PHP tag. Let's press Ctrl S. Let's go back to our index. Let's refresh, and let's delete this one and see if it works. Our pop-up prompts us, are we sure we wanted to delete? Let's press OK. And you see we have a mistake on line 11. Oh, it's not a comma. We need to concatenate this. Let's press Ctrl S to save. Let's go back. And let me try to delete this again. Are you sure? Press OK. And you see our image was deleted successfully. Let's check our database. It's not there. Let's check our folder. And you see we only have one. And now the last file we need to create is the edit. So let's create the new file. Let's save. Let's call it edit.php. Let's save this. Let me copy this code, which includes our database. And then I want to set the ID equals $_get the ID column corresponding with our row of data. Let's close our PHP tag. And what this line does is retrieve the value from the URL's query parameter, specifically the ID parameter, and we storing it in the variable ID. And this will allow us to use the ID value to fetch a specific row of data that's associated with our table in our database. And let me create the HTML structure. Let me name it CRUD edit. And let's make our form to edit. So form action, we're gonna leave that blank because we're gonna write the script in our edit file. The method equals post. And set the end type to multipart / form data. Let's add a label called image preview. And set the image, and it's our uploads folder / open our PHP, and we're gonna echo the image file. I'm gonna create the variable after I make the form. Semicolon. Let's close our PHP. Then let's set the height to equals 100 and the width to equals 100. Let's add a break tag. Let's add a label for our name, so we're gonna call it change name, and set the input. The type is file. The name is image. And let's give it a class of form control because I'm gonna add some CSS. This is gonna be the change image. Let me copy this, Control C for the name and the number. So I'm gonna change name, change number. The type for both of this is a text. And the name is name. The name for her is, I'm gonna set it to num. Then we're gonna add the value because I don't want this input to be empty. Then I'm gonna add PHP echo name. Again, I'm gonna create this variable soon. Let me just copy this, Control C, Control V. We're gonna change this to num. Now let's add 2 break tags. Next, our button. Let's give it a name of update sub. Let's wrap it around a div class. Div class equals container. Let me bring this here. Cut it and paste it here. So now let's write the script that's gonna process this form. PHP. So if is set $_post, and we gave it the name update sub. Oops, let me copy this. We're gonna create our store the inputs in the variables here. So $name equals post name equals $post num. Let's add a variable for our folder name. And the name of our folder is uploads. Let's add a /. Set the image file equals underscore our files super global image name. Next, let's set our file. We're doing the same thing we did, well, almost the same thing we did in the upload. Let's set that equals to files. Image and the temp name. Let me just copy this next 2 lines. Control C, Control V. Next, what we want to do if our file is not empty, this equals, let's set the upload file, the upload size. Control C, Control V. So we're doing the same validation. Let's copy the same validation from our uploads file. Let me also take the comment. Next, we want to create a statement. So if there's no error, and inside of that if statement, I want to create another if statement. No, I want to set if the file is not empty. I'm gonna create set a variable res in our query. $db. Select all from our table name items, where the ID column is equals our ID variable. And let's give it a limit to 1. Let's create another if statement inside. So if the row equals my SQLi fetch array in our query, let's set a variable called delete image, and we put the image column in our variable. Let's go to our delete file. We'll copy this and we're gonna unlink, which deletes the files from the server. And then in our upload, we move the uploaded file. Let's Control C. Let's create another variable called result equals MySQLi query, and we want our database. Then our query is going to be update our items table. We want to set the name to equals what's in our name variable. The num column to what's in our num variable, or should be in quotes. Where the ID columns equals our ID variable. And let's close this. Next, if our query is successful, So if result, let's set the header, and the header redirects our page, and we're gonna redirect it to our index.php file, and we set the action to equal saved. Then we're gonna write else echo something went wrong. And then the next line of code, let's set a variable called res MySQL query. Select all from our items table where ID equals $ID. Let's set the limit to 1. So if a row equals MySQL fetch array, then we put in our query. Our image equals $row image column. Our name equals our name column. Then set the num variable to our num column. And let's press Ctrl S to save. And let's see if everything works. So let me refresh this. Let me edit this one. There's an unclosed on line 115, on line 15. So where it is 15, if okay, this one's open. So let me add another one here. Probably didn't close it. Let's press Ctrl S. Let's go back. Let's press edit. Let me add some CSS so this looks a little better before we start editing. Let's press Ctrl S to save. And now let's look at our edit page. And you see we made it look a little better. Let me put this picture down. Let me add a break tag here. Ctrl S. Let's refresh. And here you have it. So now let's change this image. Let me put Kodak. Let's add a random number and let's update. And there's a mistake. First, let me correct line 70. Oh, I didn't add the image. So image equals our image file. And then I need to add an else here because we need another update query just in case the user did not change the image. So I'm gonna copy this and then I'm gonna delete this first one. And I'm doing this just in case the user doesn't change the image when they're trying to edit. So let's press Control S. Let me refresh this, continue. Let me go to the file. Let me go to the index. Let me press edit. Let me just delete this. Let's add a new entry, choose file, Kodak 2222, upload. Let's let me edit this, choose a file, add someone else, another 3333, update. And now on lines, there's a mistake on line 70. Okay, and the mistake here, I'm supposed to put a comma after this. So let's press Control S. Let's go back. Let me go back. Let me press update. Wait, let me go all the way. Let me press edit. Choose file. Let me add him. Another guy. 99999. Let's update. Keep saying line 70. Oh, I need to surround this by quotes. So now let me press Control S. Let me go back to my index. Let me delete this. Let me add a new entry. Let me add her again. Sasha, random number, upload. Let me edit. Let me choose an image. Let me add Kodak. On. Let's update. Let me check line 70 again. Oh, let me remove this comma. Let's press Control S. And let me go back again. Let me edit this. Choose image. Kodak 333. Update. And finally we did it. So let me add another one. Choose image. Let's add this pic. Let's name it John Doe. Give it a random number. Upload. Let me add another entry. Upload image. Let me add this one. Solana. Give it the number of this. Let's press upload. Now let me edit. Let me choose another image. Let's add this guy. Let's call him Derek. Let's add some numbers and let's update. And you see it was edited. Let me edit this one. Edit, choose file. Let me add this pic right here. Rhonda. Let's give a 55555. Let's update. And you see it was edited. Let's say we want to keep the same image and just change the name and number. Let's edit. Kodak. Let me give him his full name. Kodak Black. 21. Let's update. And we have an error on line 72. Okay, this is supposed to be in quotes. Let's press Control S to save. Let's go back. It's gonna, okay. Now let's go back to edit. I want to give him Kodak Black. 121212. Let's update. Let me go back here. Oh, I need to remove this comma here, and then it should work. Let's press Control S. Let's go back. Let me edit him again. Put Kodak Black 21212. Let's update, and you see we made the changes. Let me do one more example to make sure that it's working properly. Let's add this picture. Let's call her Jane. Let's give her a number 000. Let's upload. An image uploaded successfully, and here we have Jane. Now let's edit Derek. Let's edit. Let me call him Derek Coleman. Let me give him just number 2, and let's update. And you see Derek Coleman, number 2. Let me edit and change the image. Let me choose image. Let me add her. Let me call her Raina Coleman. And let's update. And you see our CRUD operation is working successfully. Oh, we didn't test out our delete. Let me delete Raina. Press OK. And you see Raina was deleted. Let me delete Jane. Delete. OK. And you see delete Jane was deleted. Let me add one more new entry. Let me add her. Let me call her. Give her a random number. And you see her. Let's edit Kodak. Let's change the picture. Let me add this guy. Let's update. And you see our CRUD application is working fine. Let me delete. Press OK. And everything is fine. In the next video, I'm gonna show you how to add pagination to this page. Thanks for watching.